No one individual vote, no one individual quote, no one individual statement defines me, my beliefs, or my record. My overall worldview has never changed. That America has and must maintain the strongest military in the world, that we must lead in the international community to confront threats and challenges together.
Chuck Hagel, President Obama's nominee for Secretary of Defense, faces a skeptical Armed Services Committee. I'm Marcus Mabry of the New York Times. Jim Rutenberg has been following the confirmation hearing. Jim, thanks for joining me here on set.
Thanks for having me.
So what has impressed you most about the hearings this morning? I've been kind of amazed at some of the language that's been tossed out there. Things like Senator Inhofe accusing former Senator Hagel of actually appeasing America's enemies and adversaries.
Yeah, and then Senator McCain, a one-time friend of his, really getting in his face and asking him to answer yes or no question that Hagel did not want to answer in a yes or no fashion, and basically agitating for a yes or no answer.
That's right, and that was actually about the surge, which he said Hagel was against, and of course McCain was for. So let's listen to a bit of what McCain actually said to Senator Hagel in that exchange.
Were you correct or incorrect? Yes or no?
My reference to the surge being the most dangerous.
Senator Hagel? The question is, were you right or wrong?
If you would like me to explain why...
I actually would like an answer. Yes or no?
Well, I'm not going to give you a yes or no. I think it's far more complicated than that. As I've already said, my answer is I'll defer that judgment to history.
I think history has already made a judgment about the surge, sir, and you're on the wrong side of it.
That's pretty strong language on the Senate floor. We did not hear those kinds of accusations, that kind of vituperativeness when it was John Kerry, the now confirmed Secretary of State, who was there, another former senator. Why so many fireworks when it comes to Chuck Hagel?
I mean, I think, first of all, Chuck Hagel broke with a lot of his party on Iraq. Specifically, he broke with McCain on Iraq. Let's add into this McCain exchange the fact that Hagel traveled around with then-candidate Obama in 2008, helping him.
And McCain is not forgotten.
Yeah, he beefed up his foreign policy credentials, so McCain remembers. You know, and what's interesting to me, though, is that some of this seemed to be kind of forgotten about in the last 2 weeks. You were seeing most headlines at Hagel's meeting, including with McCain. They were going well. Things were kind of coming around for him, and we see in the case of McCain, absolutely not. Now, whether this affects his confirmation, we'll see. But there's more vitriol than any of us expected.
And Senator Inhofe, also the ranking Republican on the committee, also had some pretty tough criticism, as we were saying, of Hagel. I wonder if we can listen to now one of the things that Inhofe was saying about Hagel's record.
His record demonstrates what I view as a lack of steadfast opposition to policies that diminish U.S. power and influence throughout the world, as well as a recent trend of policy reversals that seem based on political expediency rather than on core beliefs.
So accusing the senator of flip-flopping on policy and maybe in this point almost accusing him, as you said earlier, of being maybe to the left of what some Republicans call the socialist or quasi-socialist president.
Yeah, and it's funny because Hagel came back. He answered some of his questions later, right after Inhofe had moved on, or he had moved on from Inhofe. But he said, you know, if anyone can accuse me of political expediency, they have to look at my record because I wouldn't be in so much trouble as it is. So that was really interesting to me.
And he also had that question where he asked him, you know, Iran supports your candidacy. Can you tell us why?
Yeah. Now, to me, this is a place where I think, for instance, Senator Sessions asked him a steady line of questioning about his position on nuclear arsenals and his views on getting rid of nuclear weapons in the past and whether that's realistic, real substance, and I think that's where Hagel will have real problems. Inhofe, when he goes into this Iran sort of talk radio, talking point stuff, I don't know what that really is going to achieve.
So you think it's like conservative talk radio talking points?
That was mixed in, and one thing we shouldn't lose sight of is that Republicans and some Democrats have real substantive issues with Hagel as defense secretary. So I think when the critics go into this sort of more talk radio side of the criticism, they don't do themselves, the process is much good, is when they are real substantive issues on the table to be discussed. and those are getting aired in the appropriate venue here.
Are you surprised that there hasn't been more criticism of the Obama administration's foreign policy?
A little bit. But I think that's where, Obama's foreign policy is kind of more centrist at this point. Some think he's trying to go a little to the left with Hagel, so maybe there's some concern about that. But it's another valid question you'd have to think for the senators of why would Obama pick someone who doesn't agree with him on some of his own policies.
Final question, Jim. In the end, do you think it makes a difference? Does it derail a nomination? Usually these things are, rubber stamps, however much, drama might happen before the confirmation. Will this make a difference in the end?
It could. I don't know, right? Because we'll have to see. But we've seen these go south. And so all these predictions of the last few days that Hagel's got this now, perhaps he does. But this hearing shows that he's not out of the woods yet, and these things can fall apart pretty quickly.
All right. Along with you, we'll keep watching.
Thanks.
Thank you. That's all for now. I'm Marcus Mabry of the New York Times.